Hello everyone. Today I will continue to bring you the latest Ukrainian situation in a compact and easy to understand format with the use of maps. I'd like to welcome you all to our video. If you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications, you will be notified when new videos are released. You can also view past videos from the playlist. Situation in Ukraine. It has been 711 days since Russia invaded Kyiv. First, a general matter. According to the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Russian losses were 810 soldiers, 2 tanks, 13 armored combat vehicles, 31 cannons, 12 drones, 1 cruise missile, 47 other vehicles. Across the entire front, there were 77 reports of ground fighting in a single day. And the ratio of the number of visually confirmed equipment losses between the Ukrainian and Russian forces is 1 to 2.0, with losses on the Russian side being twice as high as on the Ukrainian side. This is a short news report about the situation in Ukraine. You can also use YouTube's chapter feature to watch where you want. 1. Vyacheslav Silgeev, a well-known Russian economist, was interviewed by the media. Announced his prediction that within a few months the value of the ruble will be halved to 200 rubles per dollar. By the way, the dollar is currently 91 rubles to the dollar. He warned that the huge war expenditures and the low level of oil revenues on which Russia depends will aggravate the country's massive financial problems, which can only be solved by a collapse of the exchange rate. He also said that an analysis of this year's budget of the Russian Federation shows a significant revenue shortfall. Since this year's budget was based on high oil prices, the balance of the National Welfare Fund, which pools oil revenues, has been rapidly depleted and now amounts to only 11 trillion rubles, $120 billion. According to my calculations, we lack 8 trillion rubles to cover the costs of the war in Ukraine for this year, he said. He concluded by saying, the way to fill this hole is to let the ruble collapse, suggesting that after the presidential elections the ruble would be worth half to a third of what it is now. If the ruble is devalued and the Russian currency is devalued, prices in Russia will rise faster than ever, people will be impoverished faster, and society and the economy will become even more unstable than they are now. The possibility of the ruble plummeting due to the budget deficit has been pointed out by another economist, so it will be interesting to see what happens to the Russian economy after the election. 2. The whereabouts of Chief of the General Staff General Gerasimov have been unknown for over a month. According to RIA Novosti, the last public appearance of Chief of General Staff Gerasimov was on December 29, 2011, when he presented a state award to a Russian soldier for his achievements during the occupation of Marinka by the then Russian army. There were rumors in social networks that he was involved in an attack on Evpatoria by the Ukrainian military on January 4 this year. Military expert Hoffman proposed the theory that Chief of Staff Gerasimov and Admiral Sokolov of the Black Sea Fleet are probably talking in the afterlife. Professor Troitsky of the University of Washington, on the other hand, said, this is not particularly surprising, considering that the job of the commander-in-chief is to plan operations out of the public eye. Another expert said, it is strange that the Russian military has not tried to dispel the death of General Gerasimov, given the efforts Russia has made to dispel the information that Admiral Sokolov was killed in the Ukrainian attack. Third, as we will report later, there was another attack on a Russian oil refinery today, and someone plotted the location of the Russian refinery on a map and found that most of it was within range of Ukrainian drones. According to the person who looked into the matter, he noted that Russia should not have started the war. The circles on the map indicate the location of oil-related facilities and their capabilities, and the colors indicate their types. Since most refineries are transported by pipeline to the Baltic Sea, where St. Petersburg is located, or to the Black Sea before being exported by ship, a Ukrainian military strike on these two locations would cripple most of Russia's oil refining and export capabilities. With Ukraine's long-range drones making remarkable advances in both quality and quantity, and Russia's air defense capabilities continuing to decline, the situation is likely to remain challenging. Now, here is the war situation in each region. Here are the areas where the war situation has changed. Northeast, Luhansk region. Eastern part, towards Bakhmut. We will report on the war situation on the Svatov-Kreminna line from Kharkiv and Kupiansk, and from the area around Siversk to Bakhmut. In this area, the Russians attacked 5 times in Shinkivka, 5 times in Terny, and twice in the area of Bakhmut. Ukrainian military spokesman Yevgeny Vrach reported that the Russian offensive has weakened, saying that Russian forces have reduced their shelling in this area by half due to bad weather conditions and logistical problems. Around Siversk. In the area around Sakhoivencity, where we reported yesterday that Ukrainian troops had advanced, positional fighting continues. There is no information on the battle map in this area, but according to a newly received video with positions, Russian troops are attacking on the banks of the Bakhmutovka River shown on the map, confirming that Ukrainian troops are in control of this area. The Russian drone observes a Ukrainian military position near the river. Bakhmut area. In this area, however, the Ukrainian army has been fighting back recently. Today the Ukrainian troops advanced again. 1. According to several reports, Ukrainian troops attacked east of Kryhorivka, won a position battle, and recaptured part of it. The battle map has been updated to show that the Ukrainian army has retaken the Russian-occupied area where the Russian advance took place on December 24th. The area is about 1 square kilometer. 2. Ukrainian forces also advanced east of Klishchivka and won a battle for positions across the pond to advance. The Russians were found shelling the positions they had taken. What we are showing you is the 85th Independent Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Russian Army, which is what the battle map looks like. Viewers sometimes ask us to show more of the Bokind, boom, and bang, so we show as much as is safe for children under the age of 14 to see. We have updated the battle map to show this neighborhood as having been retaken from Russian-occupied territory by Ukrainian forces. Meanwhile, Russian spokesman Vrach reported that Russian forces are sending reserve troops to Bakhmut for the Chasivyar offensive, so we can't let our guard down just yet. Southeast Donetsk region. Weather in Avdiivka is cloudy. The minimum temperature is -4 degrees Celsius, the maximum is 3 degrees Celsius. Today's weather forecast is for rain or snow. Here is an update on the situation in Avdiivka, Marinka and Volodar. Avdiivka area. In this area, the Russians launched a total of 44 ground attacks, including on Avdiivka, Pervomaisk, and Nevolesk, but the Russian attacks were repelled by the Ukrainian army, and there was no information that could affect the battle map. Ukrainian journalists reported that there are 6 brigades, 7 regiments, and 3 special forces in the vicinity of Avdiivka, and it is expected that the Russian military attacks on Avdiivka will continue. Marinka area. The Russians have made 7 attacks in this sector, but again the Russians have failed to advance in this sector, and the battle map remains unchanged. South, Zaporizhia province. The Russians launched 4 attacks in this sector, but the Ukrainian army defended itself and there was no information that would affect the battle map. Backward region. 1. As we reported in our first news item, a fire broke out at the Lukoil refinery in Volgograd, 500 kilometers from the front line, covering 300 square meters, but no one was injured and the fire was extinguished. The fire was extinguished and no injuries were reported. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed to have shot down 7 drones. The Volgograd refinery is the largest oil refinery in southern Russia, with a capacity of 14.8 million tons. The cause is believed to be a drone attack by Ukrainian forces, and this is the 7th attack on oil-related facilities in January alone. This series of attacks has resulted in a 37% drop in Russian gasoline exports and a 23% drop in diesel fuel. 2. Ukraine's main intelligence general GUR. A Russian bomber pilot was attacked and shot dead near the Angeles Air Base in Russia, 600 kilometers from the front line. According to the report, the pilot, born in 1983, was directly involved in killing a number of Ukrainians with his bomber during a missile attack on Ukrainian territory. The GUR concludes, "We know your names, your addresses, your car numbers, the roads you take, your habits." South, Kherson province. In this sector, Russian forces launched 7 ground attacks on Krinky, but were repulsed by Ukrainian forces, leaving the battle map unchanged. In a lengthy post, a Russian military blogger reported that the Russians were struggling because Ukrainian forces were controlling this airspace with drones, and criticized Russian commanders for having little understanding of the situation in this sector. As examples, he complained that friendly forces are not noticed when they notice a misfire, that Russian troops are damaged by their own mines because they are not informed about mines laid by the Russians,